All right, welcome everybody to our discussion of GA4. Very excited to have everybody on the call. We're just going to do a little bit of waiting as we just hit the top of the hour here. As everybody else starts to roll in, very excited for everybody to be here and chat about our GA4 solutions and what we have in store for everybody here today. Should be a really, really fun and engaging time, and really looking forward to sharing the information with you guys. A little bit of housekeeping as everybody starts to come in. We do have the question and answer piece down at the bottom. If you do have questions you want to throw out to the panel here, feel free to fill those out and we will cover those when it's appropriate within the conversation. And you also have the chat ability. If you wanted to chat, you can do that as well. Typically the QA works better because then I can kind of package those up and find perfect time to launch into those with our panelists here today. As way of quick introductions, looks like we've got a lot of people coming on, so we will go through that. Catherine is joining us today from Tapclicks. Catherine is the head of product for our data solutions and data connectors. She has been integral in dealing with GA4 stuff for us for a long time. GA4 is not the only she works with. She works with a whole litany of data connectors for us. So we're tapping into just a little bit of her knowledge and understanding of connectors today with GA4. And we have Brian Butler with us from SmarTech. He is the CEO of SmarTech, and we will be going into detail about what they offer regarding GA4 and how we can tie all of this together for just an amazing experience for everybody across the board. So that is who, oh, and myself, I guess maybe I should introduce myself. I am Kevin. I'm the head of marketing for Tapclicks. I will be the conductor on the train today. Please keep your hands and arms inside the car at all times. We don't want any loss of limbs on this call, but that's who we are, and that's what we will be going through today. For anybody who couldn't make it, or people that you know who would benefit from this, if you find that it's interesting to you, we will be sending an email with recording of this afterwards, and you can share it around with whomever you like. It'll be posted to our website and also to our YouTube channel as well for reviewing afterwards. If you have to leave early or you want to go back and listen to anything again, it'll be available for everybody there as well. So without further ado, Catherine, Brian, thank you all for joining. Thank you everybody who's watching at home or in the office or in your car. Hopefully you have two hands on the steering wheel if you're out there driving, listening to us. But let's jump into this. Today, we are talking about the looming GA4 migration and what's coming up around GA4. Now, there's a lot of conversation and a lot of stuff that's out there that honestly is put a different four-letter word in people's minds. It's typically fear, right? Fear of this looming deadline and all the work that has to go in and what are you going to do and how are you going to be prepared and all the changes. Well, we're here with a different four-letter word for you today, and that's hope. Tapclicks is really bringing a 360 solution to everybody to inspire hope and confidence in you as marketers and in your whole office in your migration to make sure that everything is working well for you and that you have a solution that you can really be confident in. So that's what our key here is going to be, is hope of this GA4 solution. We have everything you need, and we will start jumping into that to show you all the details here. So without any further ado, what we're going to be talking today about are two very specific parts of the GA4 piece. So the first thing we're going to be talking about is what is Tapclicks doing with GA4? How can we better visualize the data, right? So that is the first part about it. The second part that we're going to be talking about is what goes on within your own system, right? You're working on your own GA4 migration. What can Tapclicks do to help you get across the finish line on your side and then be able to visualize that within Tapclicks and everything else you're doing? Now, if you're new to Tapclicks, you're not familiar with who we are, you saw the ad out there and you're like, okay, I want to figure this out. Let me give you just a really quick introduction to Tapclicks and kind of why we're important in this conversation. We're leading this this webinar, so this is the self-serving part of the webinar and conversation. But we are the leading data integration ingestion solution for a number of different data sources, probably thousands of different data sources. So it's really not just one or two, it's thousands of data sources that we have out there. Catherine can probably tell me off the top of her head how many thousands there are and name them all, but the data is the key part about it. And the reason that Tapclicks is important in that conversation is our ability to ingest any data from any source, literally anywhere, online, offline data. If we can get into a spreadsheet, if we can get some access to that data, we can bring it into the Tapclicks system and allow you to manipulate and visualize that data, send it back out to your customers, get those reports, get the visualizations that you need, and then do the analytics and the analysis and all the details that you need to understand how your campaigns are working top to bottom across the board, how they're interacting with each other, and give you that omni-channel view, right? Everybody talks about that, but unless you have the data and access to the data, you can't have that whole 360 view. And that's really what Tapclicks brings to the table, not just for Google Analytics and Google Analytics 4, but for any of your data sources. So a little plug there, if you are struggling with your data sources, let's definitely have a conversation about how we can bring it into our system and how we can visualize that for you and your customers then, and make your business work better, smarter, faster for you. So with that, why is Tapclicks leading a conversation on Google Analytics 4? Well, we have been a leader in what's called universal analytics, the historical Google Analytics data, and customers have been using it on our platform for a very long time and have been, that's been the backbone of a lot of what agencies and marketers have leveraged for their data and for their analytics. Well, with the change to GA4, there's a lot of questions and a lot of fear, understandably, about how to get that new data in. Is it directly mapped one-to-one? Can I just, wave a magic wand and have that data come in? The answer is no, but we are talking about hope today and all about the positivity. So there is a solution, and Tapclicks has really manufactured the best solution for bringing in your GA4 data. Well, it's a bold statement for me to make, right? I'm in marketing and we make bold statements all the time. I'm actually going to back this up, right? Why is Tapclicks really the place you want to be for your GA4 data? And I think that it really boils down to three key things on why we're different. And this will set up the next conversation piece that Catherine will go into about, what the actual nuts and bolts and details of it look like. But the three things that we have that really nobody else has that you want and want to make sure are available to your customers are, number one, we have the ability to show your historic UA data and the GA4 data side by side. So if you want to look back and you have all your reports set up, you want to show your customers what they were showing before and what they're doing now, we can show that side by side for you. We also have the ability to do two different type of connectors to pull data in different ways for you. So we have an on-demand connector, and we also have a stored connector. And Catherine's going to go into the details of why both of those are important and why you need both of those. The third piece on why it's really important for Tapclicks and why we're different from everybody else. One of the things that Google Analytics 4 is rolling out is your look back window is only 14 months. It may seem like a long time for some of you, but if you've been in the business for a while and you've had customers for a while, they're always looking for random data, and they're having unique requests that say, oh, what happened last year or what happened 2 years ago? How can I compare that to what's going on today? So the look back window is very limited in 14 months. And if you have customers that need a longer look back window, with Google Analytics 4, you will not have the ability to go back and look at that data. So the hope of Tapclicks, what we're bringing you, is the ability to have that unlimited look back window. The caveat is you need to get on the platform and get the data started to be pulled in now so that you can take advantage of that window. The longer you wait, the shorter your look back window is going to be, but in the future, you will have that full length look back window. With universal analytics, as you know, I think the look back window is very, very long. I said 5 years and I was corrected. It is not 5 years, it's much longer than 5 years. So we're moving from a system where you had almost unlimited look back window to a new system where you only have 14 months. And Tapclicks is the only solution provider who will give you that historical look back data. So those are the three key things that you really are wanting to understand and know about why Tapclicks is different, why we're in this conversation about Google Analytics anyway, and what the difference is between our solution and everything else that you're hearing out in the marketplace. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Catherine, and she is going to go through a little bit of detail on what these different products are and what they mean to you. Kate, if you can advance the slide, one more slide. There we go. So Catherine, can you give us just a quick introduction to yourself and then kind of go through what our product is and why it's kind of unique in the market?
Yeah, so hi guys, Catherine Gaddy. I am the product manager of data connectors here at Tapclicks. I live and breathe your data and making sure we're pulling the latest and greatest for you guys. When it comes to Google Analytics 4, it has been an evolution over the last couple months and candidly over the last year or so. So we have two different connector types for you guys that we offer within the Tapclicks platform out of the box. It comes with, the platform when you guys get onboarded. You get the stored connector, which is our tried and true, our, bread and butter. These are the connectors where we pull data in daily, store it for you guys, and allow you to visualize it however you see fit. Comes with varying different elite features that you can use with it as well. We also have what I call our on-demand connector, or you'll hear your CSMs and support teams call live connectors. These connectors are on-demand API calls that happen within widget setups that you guys can change and choose what kind of metric and dimension combinations that you want to be able to get that data in a more on-demand fashion to ensure that the data is accurate as much as it possibly can be. So those are two different connectors. They have different ways that we go about connecting them. What I will say is, one, this story connector allows you access to more elite features. We can build you DIY data views for this. We can use custom dimensions to build you guys those DIYs. We do support custom dimensions as they're going to be huge for you on GA4. We offer a second level mapping. So if you need to map by an additional dimension below your properties, we can do that for you. And like Kevin mentioned, we can help you support getting in more than 14 months of history. So again, caveat, you have to get onto the platform and you have to start pulling in that data, but we will be a data warehouse for you where we can store your data ongoing so that a year from now, that data still lives in the database. On the on-demand side, there is no history. It is just a call that you choose your date range for, and we make that call and we get that data in that moment. So we will only be able to support the 14-month look back for the on-demand connectors. However, you will be able to get accurate, unique metrics, like users and sessions in GA4 is going to be one of those new, fun, unique metrics because they've changed the way they handle it. In the on-demand connector as well, you can get custom dimensions, and additionally, they support custom metrics. So you can pull all those custom fields that you've defined into a widget within Tapclicks. There's also the ability to customize your aggregation logic. So if you have a way that you want to specify how sessions or users get totaled or summed or averaged, however you want to do it, you can set up that custom aggregation logic yourself.
And then we also have a dashboard for customers, existing customers and new customers, right?
So the dashboard template is something that we built out with the team here internally, and it has both live and stored data widgets on it to help provide your data in a fun and accurate way for your clients. This is a template. It's a starting off point. You don't necessarily have to be married to it, but if you're curious as to what other people think might be, the way to go, we have a template for you.
Awesome. Now, only a product manager who is focused on data connectors would say that data is fun. We will allow that. So if you like to have fun with your data, this is definitely the place for you on that. So just diving a little bit deeper, Catherine, into that. Kate, can you go to the next slide? Can you give us a few more specifics about the on-demand connectors and stored connectors? I think that most people, most other companies are really focused on the on-demand connector. That's what they're offering, right? So when you're doing that kind of comparison, that's what other people in the industry are. So the stored connector is really the differentiator in our platform, right?
Yeah, so our store connector, for me, I call it our bread and butter, because I've been living and breathing in them for so long. But our store connector is where we are differentiating according to the market. You know what I mean? Our store connector allows us to become your data warehouse. We fetch the data, we store it on our side, and then you can look at it 13 months. In the case of Google Analytics, if you become a client and we onboard your data, a year from now, you could be looking at the last 24 months of data. There is no true stoppage there. We are able to allow you to do that date range analysis, do year-over-year comparisons, look at windows that are greater than what might be supported by the API just out of the box. So where the on-demand connector can only ever get you 14 months, your stored connector, if you're on, pulling the data, we can get beyond that. With our store connector, you can do things like setting up goals, doing attribution, setting up all these things that you guys would, heck, even alerts, so that you can leverage our elite features within Tapclicks to truly help you monitor your data and monetize your time within the platform.
That's great. We did have a relevant question that came in from Ryan. He asked, where can everybody see the new GA4 template in the Tapclicks platform? So do you want to cover that real quick?
I can cover that, yeah. So if you guys are looking for the GA4 template within your dashboard, your Tapclicks instance, you can go to the reporting section. If you go to the dashboards, you can create or manage dashboards. In there, you can choose to add a new dashboard, and it will offer you a list of templates when you go to create that new dashboard, whether you want to go from blank or you want to use one of our templates. The template for GA4 will be in there and named accordingly so that you can find it.
Awesome. Now, the other question that does come up is early access. Why does our connector still say early access? And when do you think that will change?
Yeah, so early access, right? It triggers a thought of, oh God, it's just a starter. I'm going to have to redo all this work later, right? It does not. Early access is a tag that Tapclicks has put on the connector just to help flag and denote to the market that we are an early access point to the GA4 API. So what we have done is we started connecting to Google Analytics 4's API back in 2020, and we got on it when it was still in an alpha stage. So right now it's in beta, and we are leaving the early access flag on our side to denote that it's still an early access API. It's still in a beta product. We will remove the early access flag when it becomes a production ready API, which I think is happening soon. So we're going to stay on top of that for you guys, but the connection will remain the same. The connector will stay, your credentials, your mappings, or your assignments rather, they'll all stay. We're not building a net new one. This is where you'll live and breathe for GA4 data.
Great. Now, just to clarify, early access is not predicated on anything that Tapclicks is doing. It is simply the designation that Google has put on it, and we will remove it once Google has moved beyond early access to it.
Yeah, so we will adjust our name accordingly to what Google is doing to make sure that you guys are aware of what is going on with this API.
Awesome. Thank you so much. We do have a couple other quick questions that came in I wanted to hit real quick. Somebody asked, referring to on-demand and stored connectors, how does this relate to instant on and smart connectors in Tapclicks? Which is great because we have a lot of connectors in Tapclicks, as you know. I'll take a crack at this. So the on-demand would be correlated to our instant on connectors. And the smart connector is when we don't have an API directly into a data source. Tapclicks has the ability to pull data from any different data location as long as we can get access to it via smart connector. Smart connector, kind of bypasses the API, if you will, a little bit, and allows us to pull in any data. So that would be the clarification there. Catherine,
There's
do you want to?
actually additionally, so on-demand connectors, so instant ons, those native connectors that you guys click on the managed data sources and connect. Those are our instant ons, right? Those are all our stored connectors. They follow the same stored hierarchy and convention. Our smart connectors, like Kevin mentioned, are for those above and beyond services that we may not have a direct API connection to, but you want to bring data in, whether it's in an external system or an internal system of yours. They are also stored data. They follow the hierarchy and the convention of stored. Data gets stored daily, and then it can be used within your widgets. The only on-demand connector types that we have are those live connectors that you can use in widgets, and we have about 20 different connectors that are on-demand connectors. You connect to them and assign to them through the instant on tile. However, their behavior on the back end for code functionality is different.
Great. If you guys have any questions about the connectors beyond that, you can always reach out to your success manager, or you can reach out to Catherine offline and she can help you cover off on that. Catherine, question about the on-demand connector and the API limitations or number of polls that you can do. Is there any restrictions? Is there any caveats on how many times people can pull the data? Are they going to run into limitations or restrictions on that?
So there are limitations from an API standpoint in that we can't get around them. They are put on us by Google. However, the way we manage that is we pace on our side. We use code, and our engineers are really, really smarter than me, to the point that sometimes I think they're speaking Greek at me. But they have built really good handling on the back end so that we never are hitting quotas for ours. The also benefit is Tapclicks has been using Google products for so long that our quotas on our side that we have been granted from Google are rather large. So what we get the benefit of is we have very large quotas with very decent rate limits. So if you're using Tapclicks, you're really rather unlikely to run into some of those limitations and those issues because they've really boosted us up because of our usage.
Great. Fantastic. We will cover off on a couple other of the GA4 questions a little later, but I did want to get to Brian's part and cover off on what Brian does for us. Oh, we do have, sorry, I'll cover this slide real quick. Tons of other stuff that's out there for you guys. We have knowledge base articles covering just about everything you could want. We have blog posts, and we have a weekly office hours where you can come and ask questions. Those are live sessions every week that we do. And you can also reach out to your customer success manager if you have questions about anything else related to there. And we will have a few more QA things at the end here. So let me continue to move forward with that. That is kind of what we talked about for GA4 and Tapclicks for visualization. Now, what if you guys are struggling to get GA4 finally implemented on your side? That's where really the 360 comes in. We understand the visualizations, but what if you can't even get to the visualizations because your GA4 instance for yourself is not finalized yet, and you probably fall into one of three categories, right? You haven't started anything, you know it's coming, but you haven't done anything. You've started it, but haven't gotten very far, or you just need that final push to get you across the finish line. That's really where we help you come in and help you kind of get everything done in time and take away that fear of, I'm not going to finish in time. What am I going to do? That's really where we partnered with Brian to come in and help us and help you get everything else across the finish line. So Brian is the head of SmarTech, and they are a integration partner with Tapclicks. So they're helping in this GA4 environment to get everything else across the finish line for you. So Brian, can you give us just a little bit of background on SmarTech and what you guys offer?
Absolutely. Brian Butler, I'm the CEO of SmarTech. as he mentioned. SmarTech is a marketing consultancy that specializes in Tapclicks and HubSpot. We specialize in implementation, support, licensing, onboarding. We basically are your champion outside of your internal team. We usually come in if you have a need to have customized reports, you're out of pro services hours and you need someone to really come in and kind of supercharge the report. That's where my team kind of comes in and helps to take it to the next level. So we are a specialty shop specifically for these services and really making sure that we get everything reporting as needed. That's really the summary of kind of what we bring to the table, is really kind of taking people who are trying to get Tapclicks kind of up to that next tier and bringing in some third-party viewpoints. After being in marketing for 15 years, I bring a level of marketing experience. The team does that can actually take real life data, real world experience, and kind of show you how to visualize that data in a way that may not be as intuitive if you don't have the marketing experience.
Fantastic. Specifically with GA4, you have a bunch of different services that you're offering for customers. So Kate, can you take us to the next slide? And I really want to dig in a little bit more specifically to the help that you provide agencies and brands and the like on getting their GA4 implementation across the finish line.
Absolutely. So the big thing is really just kind of helping to understand technical issues that might be happening. A good example of this and where our audit comes in, we had a client who didn't have their revenue data set up custom. They just kind of let the old code kind of sit. They migrated their GA and then had someone go in and kind of do a little bit on the background. But when we looked at the data, we saw that there was over 50% of the conversions missing and 50% of the revenue missing compared to GA. Looking in the code, we realized that it was actually someone had coded for one line item to be tracked as the conversion action. It was a completely wrong data layer variable. So what needed to be done was it had to be looking at the total data layer variable to understand the full picture. But if someone didn't have the technical prowess to understand why that was working, they wouldn't understand where that miss was happening. So it can be the difference between reporting 130 conversions to reporting 60 conversions, and $1 million in revenue to reporting 500,000 in revenue, because you're only reporting one action item or one transactionable event. Those are things that we kind of bring to the table to really help understand, making sure the code's implemented correctly, making sure you don't have your code installed twice, everything being installed through Google Tag Manager. We bring a developer to the table to really do a full in-depth audit to understand what it is your system really needs, what it is that you're trying to report on from a data standpoint, and what you're missing. And then from that standpoint, we can help with our services to visualize that data to try to understand how we can take what you're looking for and build that into your Tapclicks instance. We're all working with the team to try to build different reports that have data that goes back and forth. So you can try to do an aggregate report. And then also trying to understand what that data is missing so you can understand the full differences. We do provide full migration support. So understanding, making sure your audiences are set up, making sure that everything is going correctly as far as what you're bringing in from referral exclusions, making sure that you're migrating all the old users, old property data over. And obviously, we're not importing any of the information from GA4 or GA into GA4 because that's not a thing. But what we can do is work with you to visualize that data in Tapclicks where the data is stored. And I think what Tapclicks is doing right now is probably one of the most innovative things we've seen in being able to take that information, take 5 years of data, and be able to visualize that in one consistent thread. Makes a huge difference when you're trying to understand your data from 2 or 3 years ago to understand how your pacing has been, how your overall visualizations have been. Like I mentioned, we do have a technical audit that we can do that starts at $500. We're really excited about that. Actually, for our webinar participants, we're offering a 10% discount. So if anyone wants to have their GA audited, we'll offer a 10% on the audit so you can save a little money there, but really just kind of helping you to visualize, understand your data, and understand why the migration needs to happen as it does.
So your offering is, your audit is not only for people who are still struggling to get it across the finish line, but even for those that have completed it, just a double check, right? To make sure that everything is done the proper way, everything is done correctly, to give that additional level of confidence that you've done it right, that everything is set up.
And once the audit is done, we have a team in place that can do any kind of implementation that's needed as far as making sure that revenue variable is corrected, making sure the data is loading correctly, making sure that your code being duplicated on your website is taken off. We have a solution to help with that as well.
Okay, excellent. So for customers, agencies out there that are working through the GA4 implementation, and your customers, if they're looking at help with GA4 as well, and they're coming to you saying, hey, we're not there yet, or we need help with this, and you're trying to figure out your own instance, let alone theirs, SmarTech is definitely available to help with your customers as well, get them across the finish line. So it's additional level of service that you as agencies or brands out there who are needing that help getting across the finish line can take advantage of.
And a couple of free tips that I wanted to pull out there just to kind of help everybody. These are things we're seeing pretty consistently right now that are just kind of giveaways that I wanted to make sure everyone's aware of. Please make sure you're using the audience migration tool if you're trying to do this by yourself. Google Sheets has a really nice add-on that allows you to migrate your users and your audiences. If that sounds like gibberish, call me. But if that doesn't sound like gibberish, go ahead and do that. You want to make sure your audiences are migrating over. You also have a really cool function that I think is not well reported on. You can copy over your referral exclusions. So for example, if you have Afterpay, right? Or if you have Shopify and it's reporting in your GA as a referral and you don't want that to report as a referral, you want your proper attribution credit to go to the right place, your PPC, your organic, your direct, you can actually take that referral exclusion and copy that over to your GA4 instance. It's something and a lot of people don't necessarily realize and don't understand how that works. The third thing I'll say is difference in attribution models. Understanding how things attribute differently is super important. GA is last non-direct click. So most of the data you're going to be seeing is based on the source that was your last non-direct source. Whereas in GA4, it's data-driven attribution all the way. So you're going to have in your reporting a not one-to-one report visualization. It's going to be different because different sources of performance, organic, email, are going to start getting credit that they didn't get before. As an example of this, we have a client that has a 1x focus point, new clients only, no repeat clients. In GA, their overall conversions for 1x clients was 1,000. But in GA4, it was 1,300. And that is specifically tied to the paid media services that they were running. So in one situation, paid media got credit for 300 less sales than they did in GA4. So understanding that difference and recognizing that value is really important. Another thing to look at is cross-channel conversions or cross-channel distribution in the system. Cross-channel is typically understood as cross-platform. So Google to organic, email to organic, email to direct. But it's actually not. In Google Analytics 4, cross-network means display network, smart campaigns, and performance max. It is not what you think it is. And that seems to be the recurring line with GA4. You really need to understand what it is they're trying to tell you and look at the details because it's not what you think it is. And that's a common thread that you're going to find when trying to understand maybe little nuances about the system that are not as clear up front.
Yeah, not what you think it is.
Yeah. Oh, one last thing. Turn off auto migrate for old properties. So if you have a property that is aged that you're not using anymore, or if you have a different view that's set up and you have different property views, turn off the auto migration so that that doesn't migrate to the new system if that doesn't mean anything to you. Old platforms, old properties, you can actually turn that auto migrate off in the settings, and that'll keep you from having a bunch of old data you don't care about being migrated to the new system as far as the property level.
Excellent. Fantastic. So that is what SmarTech brings to the table, helping you do your own internal migration, making sure that it's done the right way, the proper way, and helping you with any gaps along the way. So Tapclicks brings the visualization of all that data to the forefront for you. SmarTech brings the implementation on your own side to make sure everything gets across the finish line in a timely manner and in the correct manner for you and for your clients, for your brands as well.
And I should mention the SOW engagements. We are here to be your champion when it comes to not only GA, but also just Tapclicks needs in general. If you have information you're trying to visualize from HubSpot to Tapclicks, HubSpot information you're trying to visualize, we're there to really be an external brain power for your team that helps you kind of take things to that next level.
Yeah, and as the Tapclicks integration partner certified partner, Brian and his team are there to help you guys every step along the way for any Tapclicks questions you may have. Thank you so much, Brian, for that.
Pleasure.
Still a bunch of questions coming in. We will try to get to these as fast as we can. If we miss a question that you have, please feel free to reach out to us afterwards, and we will pick that up. and have more answers to those questions as they come available, and as we have time to address them. But a couple of the other questions that came in are, if does somebody need to reconnect their data if they already have Google Analytics created in the Tapclicks dashboard? Do they need to reconnect the GA4 data? And the answer is yes. It's a new API, right? So it's different, and you're going to need to reconnect those with the permission sets, et cetera, that you have there for it. So if you have UA already pulled into your Tapclicks dashboard, you will need to create a new connector for GA4 because it's a brand new API connection. It's a brand new everything there. So yes, you will have to bring that in and connect that up. See if there's another couple here. API limitations, we chatted about that. GA4 and BigQuery. This is a good question, probably, Brian. You were talking about this just before the call. So people have the ability to bring their GA4 data into BigQuery as their data warehousing, and then be able to use that. So Tapclicks also works as a data warehouser to store that GA4 data. We also have a BigQuery connector, right? So you can bring it into GA4, GA4 data into BigQuery, and then bring it into Tapclicks, and vice versa. We can move that data back and forth. So if you're currently using BigQuery, we can pull that data in. You can store it there as well. Catherine, anything else you wanted to say on BigQuery?
Yeah, I would say the big differentiator is why pay for a data warehouse twice, would be my note.
Yes.
If we're going to be warehousing your data for you via the connector within Tapclicks, and you're going to be doing it in addition in BigQuery, that is, doubling down on data warehouses, which is fine if you want to. Perfectly okay if that's how you want to do it. But we are here to be your data warehouse, and our model is here for you to support you guys and your usage and your needs. So maybe trim that budget a little bit and save a couple bucks.
We all like lining the coffers of Google, right? That's why we're all here.
Of course.
Yeah.
We all like to make Google more money. So thank you, Catherine, for that. And I think, Brian, that was your sentiment as well, right? The customer that you were talking about with the BigQuery instance.
Yeah. And BigQuery can be more complicated as far as a connector. The average Google consumer doesn't understand the data cloud, doesn't understand what BigQuery is. If you are BigQuery savvy, then go ahead. There's a lot of good value you get at BigQuery, and Google is definitely trying to push people towards BigQuery. I think your options right now that you have are definitely BigQuery is an option. You can visualize the data from BigQuery into Google, into Tapclicks, which is it's very, very valuable. But again, there's a level of technical complexity that is definitely a limit to people's ability to do that, where I feel like Tapclicks doing this on the back end allows people who don't want to have to spend time getting certified in BigQuery to understand what's needed. I mean, there is a cost associated. So depending on how much data you're bringing in, you are going to be paying for BigQuery. It's not a free service. So between the cost limitation and the data limitation, it's just one of those situations you're seeing. The third option I think you have is going towards Google Analytics 360, which is about $125,000 a year, which is where Google is kind of moving as far as their data storage platform and leveraging BigQuery, but also kind of hosting that data. I'd say it is important to recognize that Google's GA data is going to be going away, right? A lot of people have asked that question too. They are going to be over 6 months, after 6 months, starting to deprecate that data. So you don't have that information. They're getting out of the data warehousing game as far as a free service, and they're moving into the paid data warehousing game. And I think that's the big differentiator here. And people have asked, are they really going to delete my data? Yeah, they're done holding that data. They want to get rid of it. They have said very clearly it's going away. They have not said the exact date, but as 6 months from July, we're looking probably by the end of the year. So when you do want to start thinking about what you want to do with your data and how you want to bring that data in and how you want to visualize it. And the one thing I will say about BigQuery is there isn't a really great visualization function in BigQuery if that's your solution, right? It's a data warehouse. Storage. It isn't a visualization tool. So you're going to have to find a data visualization service to take that data, reparse it, and then revisualize it. So what you get with Tapclicks is really a 2-for-1 special. You don't have to deal with the revisualization. You don't have to deal with the smart connector from a BigQuery query. I mean, it really is just kind of a 2-for-1. And that's how I've been seeing it. And with the clients I've been onboarding onto it, that's how we've discussed it.
Awesome.
And Brian brought up they're deleting your data. What I will call out is Tapclicks is not going to be. So while Google is going to be deleting your data, Tapclicks, if you've connected, assigned, and we've fetched your data for you, that data lives in our system in perpetuity until you tell us otherwise. Yep. And we do that double confirm, make sure you mean what you're doing when you delete data. We never delete data for you guys or on you guys unless you guys have confirmed it. So while Google might be losing that data, that UA data that you have already loaded in Tapclicks will remain in Tapclicks in perpetuity.
Awesome. Well, guys, thank you so much for your time today. This was really great, kind of going through what Tapclicks offers, what SmarTech offers, and kind of how we can cover customers front to back on all of this stuff. It's been really great, I think, to cover off on all of this. Again, for everybody who's on the call, we are recording this, and we will be sending out the recording afterwards. So if you want to share with your coworkers or with your partners, love to have you share that. It's going to be available on the site as well, and on our YouTube channel as soon as we get that processed out and done. So if you do have questions, feel free to reach out to us. We would love to help you with any questions you have. If you do have a customer success manager, feel free to reach out to your customer success managers directly. If you want support, you can hit support at Tapclicks. Brian Butler is available directly at brianbutler@smarttech.com, right?
Just Brian at smarttech.company. Brian at smarttech.company.
And we can get you connected up with him as well. If you have questions, we can get you connected there. He is offering 10% off of that audit service, which is great, just to get a final check off and make sure that you are all set to go there. So thank you so much for everybody's time on that. And with that, we will say farewell to our panel here, and thank you all for attending.